you'll all have a minute to answer the next question. The current crisis in youth violence is the culmination of years of bad policy. After ignoring the problem, the current mayor responded with the Youth Violence Prevention Initiative that failed to acknowledge agencies such as Seattle Vocational Institute, youth sports programs, and grassroots groups who have direct links to youth and the community. In your opinion, what are the root causes of Seattle's youth violence crisis? Do you support Mayor Nichols' youth violence initiative, and what actions will you take to...
This is the most critical problem we're facing right now in our streets. There are too many, obviously, killings of our youth by youth, and we need to address it directly. I helped get the Licata program off the ground in the central area that Lieutenant John Hayes started. I helped fund and get off the ground curb in Rainier Beach. We were using peer-to-peer outreach. These are the grassroots programs I support. The mayor's program, I like the idea that he's addressing the issue. I think the weakness is that it does not have roots in the community. It needs to have, the 3 communities that are identified, each of those communities need to have an oversight board with the organizations that were mentioned. That's the only way it's going to ever be effective. Otherwise, it's going to be too tough.
So I have long worked with organizations like City Year, Seattle King County, which is, in this neighborhood, we work with at-risk youth in our schools on truancy prevention and reading skills for 3rd graders. I've long worked with organizations like Technology Access Foundation, which provides technology and computer skills for kids and so that they can get into college, and has a 100% success rate of their kids getting into college, and most of them with scholarships. Those are the types of programs that I want to invest in. Those are the types of programs that I want to make sure that we are, as a community, investing in. I mentioned before the Harlem Children's Zone strategy. That is, it's not bringing new sources, but it's targeting existing sources. We know exactly where kids are dropping out of school. We know exactly where crime is starting. And it's about time we use that data to drive our spending decisions and coordinate and no longer say schools are not our problem, because schools and education are all of our problem.
You know, the way you phrased that question I thought was really impressive, because you talked about the violence today as a culmination of events that have happened over the course of years. And I think it's really critical that we as a society see that. This isn't something that just happened last night and we need to address. It's something that we've been neglecting for years. I was a volunteer in a classroom at Garfield last year of 9th graders that were struggling. And at the end of the year, I bought them lunch and told them I was running for city council and said, give me some advice. And a couple things came up. I asked them what they thought about the parks. They said, we like the parks, but we don't always feel safe there. And I said, well, more police then? They said, no, the police just harass us. It became evident that the answer for crime isn't necessarily just more police. They'll need to be part of the solution, but not all. The other thing they said was, you know what I want, Mike? I want a job. And when a 9th grader tells me they want a summer job, our society should be providing jobs for every 9th grader out there. And that's the kind of investment that's going to make that all.
So root causes and what we can do about it. Root cause, and Mike got it right. So root causes and what we can do about it. Root cause, and Mike got it right, of 18 or 14 or 20-year-olds that go in the wrong direction, is because as 3 and 4 and 5 and 6-year-olds, we didn't care enough to do something about their needs. If you come over to my house, where my family and I live, if you come over for the last 8 years, what you find on our front porch are soccer shoes. Sometimes dozens and dozens and dozens of pairs of soccer shoes. If you come in our house, you find the equipment that goes along with it. Who's this available to? This is available to every kid that possibly wants to play soccer who may not have enough money. Where we live, that means many kids of color. That's why my family started the scholarship program for Seattle Youth Soccer, the Capitol Hill region. Getting those kids into organized sports and keeping them so money is no barrier, and then getting them into reading programs because they're having fun hanging out with their peers, that means that years later, they'll be better on a track to get them to where we need them to go. We need to embrace every child, no matter where they come from, no matter what they look like.
I think the question started with, do we embrace the mayor's plan? It is such a small part of what we really need to do. As a mom working in the public schools, I started some programs before school so that parents who needed to get to work before the school day could bring their kids. We had some exciting programs. Kids were learning art, music, things that the schools weren't paying for. We also had some other educational programs for sports, good sportsmanship kinds of programs. And you know what happened? The kids were delighted to be there. They were doing better in school. We had some anti-bullying programs that we got started for real young kids. But I agree with something that I believe that Mike said about junior high kids need to have jobs. And I talked with a couple of 16-year-olds from Cleveland, and they said to me, you know what the most important problem is? Is that people do not even know how to fill out a job application. I think we need to be dealing with partners in public education, using our connections with the business client, the business.
The roots of the youth violence problem, I believe, are rooted in systemic racism in our society. Continuing neglect of our public education system, particularly in our inner city schools, the lack of jobs, as we have heard. The mayor's youth violence initiative is a limited response, and in some ways is problematic because it focuses more on law enforcement than in intervention, mentoring, the kinds of programs that we know work. We should not sacrifice programs like GOTS and CURB and Youth 180. We should not be sacrificing, as we did Seattle Team for Youth. We need to be investing in after-school programs where some of the greatest problems which a lot of the public is not aware of, after-school programs in the afternoons, early childhood education to give children a great head start. We also need to invest for older youth in the program that the late Bob Marcold used to direct here at Seattle Vocational Institute, the job training program that helps young people